very welcome back to the show. Now our next guest met this little girl, Teesa, on the streets of her native city in northern India, severely malnourished. She was 2 years of age and weighed less than 10 pounds.
You know what? Lots of children born in this country are born at 10 pounds. But of course, the man who found her, she was a very lucky little girl because it was Irish nurse Pat McMahon, and he's the founder of the Verrazani Children's Hospital. Pat, you're very welcome, and thank you for coming in, Pat.
Thank you.
It's unreal. This little girl, Teesa, she was 10 pounds at that age. I mean,
like, I think if you look at the size of my hand in relation to that little being, you get an idea of what I saw. You know, and I'd seen malnutrition on the television, but when you see a being like this, because it's almost unreal, we can't conceptualize a child being this hungry, starving.
But Varanasi, of course, it's a massive, massive city. I mean, we probably know it from the burning bodies on the river that we'd associate it with. Children like this age, would it be normal for them to be begging on the streets and on their own all the time?
Well, actually, what happened is I got lost in a slum area, and the family actually had been evicted out of their little hut because they couldn't pay the rent. So I was passing, and just happened, like literally, Teesa, I'd say, in another day or two wouldn't have made it. She barely survived. So when I saw her, obviously, we just set up the hospital probably about 6 months previously. So I brought her to the hospital, and she became the first child in our malnutrition. We began the malnutrition centre from Teesa.
And that's the kind of that's the bones of the whole thing, really, for you, Pat. Malnutrition is probably the biggest thing that you target, is it?
Well, yeah, we're specialists in malnutrition, but for me, there's something about like hunger, how someone could be hungry.
It's extreme hunger, though. But Teesa, it's a great story because I mean, it's a lovely story because Teesa, and we can see her actually here through. Here she is about, what age is she here?
She's 6.
She's about 6, yeah.
And then we take a look at her again in the next photo. Look at her lovely smiley child.
Such a happy child.
And the things with malnutrition, actually, what you see is when they come in like this, you actually, because they're literally like a zombie. They have no emotion because they're almost like they have their spirit is gone. And when you see children like this, you see them returning.
Look
you
at
see
her,
their light coming
in her
back.
eyes. Yeah.
You know, you see that sparkle, that joy.
She now lives, though, in a hostel, doesn't she, as well, with other children?
Yeah, so her family were in a particularly difficult position. And so her family went to... 2 more of her brothers and sisters went to live in a hostel, and they had an education. So that's the picture taken outside their little hostel.
It's
and that's
not unusual, though, Pat, is it, for NGOs or people like yourselves, charities, or people that you set up, and like you, because literally you set up that hospital because you were working as a nurse in a hospital in India and you saw children being turned away.
Yeah, I worked for a month in a government hospital, and I saw the reality of children literally being seen by the doctor and given a list of medicines to go out and buy, and if they couldn't afford the medicine,
of course they couldn't afford it.
They would be turned away. So that's kind of how the project started. I saw that, so I started working on the streets and taking children back to the hospital.
Where did you find the premises, though, Pep? Because India, it's a jungle, really, these cities. I mean, I've been to Calcutta, or Kolkata, as it's called, and I just found it overwhelming, to be honest.
The interesting thing was actually that I'd worked for 6 months. I was there for 6 months doing this work, and 2 weeks before my visa was due to be finished, I had this thought that said, it's not my time to go. And so I extended my visa, changed my plane ticket, and the very day
we're looking at here now, isn't it? Yeah.
The very day that I was supposed to fly out, I got put in contact with Dr. Singh, this doctor who's just setting up a small private hospital, and that's it. And
that's fantastic.
He had more space than he needed, so he said, let's create 2 hospitals. So his private patients are downstairs, and then we have the upstairs. Which is this part here. So we rent that. So that's basically how it began.
A huge thing for you, Pat, is to educate their parents.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because actually you were saying earlier on that if you see children and sometimes they look like it's malnourishment, but they actually have hernias, but the parents, because of the caste system and the thought process of the people there, they believe that it's karma, that they should have these things because they don't deserve anything else.
Yeah, but I suppose the education part is more it's more.
But is that not true, though, that they do believe that sometimes?
Yeah, they do. There's an awful lot of superstition,
Yeah.
of course. There's an awful lot. And it's very, like, if it was as easy as just finding the child and helping them, it's
It'd be a
not.
lot simpler,
You have an awful lot of... See, you're dealing with a lot of people who they're not educated.
Yeah.
So we take very much for granted education. What education gives us is an ability to see. It's not necessarily we will get the right answer, but we will see different. We can see the whole picture.
Yeah.
We can see the front, the back, the side.
I know.
As a whole. Whereas when people that haven't gone through education, it's very black and white.
It is.
It's
traditions
very
over the
difficult.
centuries,
It's very
they haven't
difficult.
changed.
These
yeah.
things are vital. These packs are vital packs. Just tell us about them. What's in them?
This is magic. What you're holding there is magic. I've been dreaming about this for years to get this into India.
30 cents this
30
costs.
cents.
And what's it made of? Of peanuts?
The base is peanuts and
Calories.
peanuts and milk powder. But the real goal of the real thing of this is the nutrients and the micronutrients. It's
So how many of
specifically
those would a
formulated.
child need a day to survive?
So typically they'll get one pack a day, and it'll take about 40 days, 45 days. And what it does is it gives them energy, so they want to. They brings back their hunger, and as well they'll eat what else is in the pot, So it's
We have a lovely
amazing.
piece of footage, and you can take us through this. This little kid, you can see she's holding one of these packs. Now, these little children couldn't walk when you met them.
Yeah, like she's 4 years of age, and when
She
she
looks like a
came to
one-year-old.
our clinic, she still wasn't walking, severely malnourished. So part of what the project does is we're rehab. Like, we couldn't begin the process of getting her to walk until she first had the energy and
course,
put on
yeah,
some
yeah.
weight, and then
Look at her, they're
it's the
so
process.
cute.
Like, you see the little, and for me,
They're
it's
like dolls.
Because
one
they're
of
starting from below par, aren't they? They're 10 below par. They have to come up to par 3
Yeah.
kind of normal, and then have enough energy to be able to walk and do everything else.
Yeah, like at 4 years of age, the only reason that she wasn't walking is because of her malnutrition.
That's it.
There was no physical reason for
Pat, I
that.
have to say, you're amazing, and I know that you've helped literally hundreds, and you're hoping to help, is it 400 in this year ahead now?
The 2000, because of this packet, it means
Yeah.
that literally we have no walls. So before we had to treat in the centre. Now the majority of children can be treated in the community. So last year, 2014, we treated 450 children,
That's
and we
excellent.
have the goal this year is to treat 800 children.
Great.
Pat,
Now, you can tell us how people out there with a very little amount of money can buy a lot of these packs. Tell
Yeah,
us how.
like there's no administration costs, so all the money that's raised
Goes
goes
direct.
directly out.
Okay.
So
Donate?
donate,
Yeah, of course.
donate. Like, the very easy way is to text India to 50300, and that will give us €4.
Yeah.
So there's also that we've a very interesting, I think it's a very interesting website. We have a newsletter that comes out that I write every month. So you can sign up for the newsletter. And obviously the direct debits. Like, we run 3 schools, and that's completely funded by people, direct debits every month. So
Great. Well, verasanichildrenshospital.org. And if you didn't have time to get that, we were going to put it on our own website, of course, which is RT Today. You're a very inspirational
Thank you,
person,
Pat, for
and you're
coming
giving
in.
your whole
Very
life to these kids. And I have to say, they're the most lovely people, because anyone that goes to India and meets these street children and very, very poor people, they're so generous and lovely themselves. Thank you for coming in to us.
thank you very much.